We live in a culture obsessed with aging in reverse. Serums, injections, biohacking, miracle drinks, all promising a kind of modern alchemy. But behind these glossy labels is something very old. For as long as we've been aware of our mortality, we've been on an eternal search for immortality, from ancient Egypt to the Epic of Gilgamesh to Chinese alchemists and emperors. We've always hoped to escape the one rule that seems unbreakable. Everything that lives dies. In this video, we'll look at why the desire to live forever is so persistent, how our modern-day forever young trend is actually a concretized version of an ancient spiritual idea, why stories warn us that the pursuit of physical immortality often turns dark, and how myth and fairy tales suggest that real immortality is symbolic, found in transformation, not through a purchase. I'm Kevin Richard, and welcome to Archetypal Stories. Today, we usually don't say immortality. We say longevity, age reversal, biohacking, anti-aging skincare. There are even some in the scientific community that have called aging a disease. With this model, we seek antidotes and treatments. We are flooded with wonder creams and drinks that promise to reverse aging, extreme diets and supplements, and routines that hint at outsmarting the body. Health influencers that have discovered the perfect serums for youth, or technology dreaming about uploading our minds, replacing organs, and becoming part machine. What's interesting is that psychologically, this is nothing new at all, but there has been a shift. We simply pulled something that was once symbolic and spiritual, the idea of a radiant, deathless inner body, and tried to make it literal and material. The diamond body, in spiritual traditions, isn't supposed to be your skin. It's a symbol of a subtle body, an inner transformed self that participates in something beyond decay. Now, we've taken that symbol and put it in a bottle and a promise, but historically, the spirit was never meant to be suspended in the body indefinitely. Ancient Egypt might be the clearest example of a culture built on the desire for immortality. For the Egyptians, death wasn't the end. It was a transition, but that transition had conditions. The body was mummified so the soul could recognize and inhabit it. Tombs were filled with spells, instructions, and objects to help navigate the afterlife. The heart was weighed against the feather of Ma'at, symbolizing truth and cosmic order. If it was too heavy, you were devoured. If it was light, you entered the blessed, almost eternal existence. The pharaoh especially was seen as participating in a divine timeless realm. He was linked to the gods of Osiris and Ra, bridging time and eternity. But we notice something. Even here, immortality is not just dying. It's a spiritual state, a right alignment with the cosmic order. It has to do with truth, with the soul, and not with an endless youthful body. Modern culture keeps the structure of hope that we can cheat aging and death. But this belief is often devoid of the spiritual dimension, leaving only the shell. Ancient stories offer us great guidance. One of the oldest stories we have is the Epic of Gilgamesh. It offers us a mirror to the desire for immortality and eternal youth, and a more powerful force of fate that prevails in the end. Gilgamesh, a powerful king, is confronted with death with his friend Enkidu. It shatters him. He realizes, if death can take him, it can take me too. So, after Enkidu dies, Gilgamesh becomes obsessed with one idea. How do I escape death? He sets out to find Utnapishtim, the one human that the gods have made immortal. When Gilgamesh arrives, Utnapishtim says, "If you want to be like the gods, stay awake for 6 days and 7 nights. Psychologically, we would say this is a test to see if our consciousness is strong enough to hold back the much larger archetypal forces of the unconscious. Gilgamesh can't do it. He falls asleep almost immediately. But the story doesn't stop there. Utnapishtim does tell him about a plant at the bottom of the sea. This plant won't turn you into a god, but it can restore your youth. So Gilgamesh dives down, finds the plant, and thinks, I'll take it back to my city and share it with the elders. We will be young again. But fate prevails once again. On the journey home, while Gilgamesh is bathing, a snake comes and steals a plant. The snake sheds its skin and renews itself, and Gilgamesh is left with nothing. Both immortality and eternal youth slip through his fingers. He returns to the city, looks at its walls, and sees that his true immortality is not in his body, but in his works, his story, the civilization and meaning he helped to create. You see a similar pattern in Greek myth. The goddess Eos, the dawn, falls in love with a mortal man named Tithonus. She asks Zeus to grant him immortality, but forgot to ask for eternal youth. Tithonus grows older and frailer with each passing dawn. His body decays, his mind falters, and yet he cannot die. Heartbroken by his perpetual decline, Eos no longer stays with him and leaves him confined and isolated. And as with most tragic figures in Ovid's Metamorphoses, he undergoes one final change. Unable to die, but desperate to escape human frailty, Tithonus is finally transformed into a cicada. As a cicada, his endless chirping is said to be the eternal lament for the mortality he never reclaimed and the youth he never had. So in both stories you find the warnings. If you get immortality without youth, you end up with endless decay. If you reach for youth without truly escaping death, it still can be taken away. Across the world, in ancient China, the desire for immortality shaped entire traditions. Some emperors poured incredible wealth and human effort into finding the elixir of life, contacting immortals, creating substances that would grant eternal youth in unending rule. Chinese alchemists worked with external alchemy, physical elixirs, strange concoctions, sometimes literally toxic metals like mercury. Internal alchemy, meditative practices, breath, visualization, refined the subtle body. Notice the split. The external search, turning matter into life-giving gold, often ended badly. Many seekers of the elixir literally poisoned themselves. The internal search described the formation of the diamond body, or the immortal embryo. Inside, a symbolic spiritual body awakened through discipline and transformation. Myths and other archetypal stories repeatedly warn us the pursuit of literal, personal immortality can easily curdle into villainy. Think of the archetypal narratives: the sorcerer who will sacrifice anyone to preserve his life, the ruler who grows increasingly cruel and paranoid, afraid of losing power, the monster who has hidden its heart, soul, or life force elsewhere so it cannot be killed. In many tales, those who desperately cling to life break the natural bonds, betray loved ones, defy the proper rhythms of life and death. And the result is almost always isolation, madness, and in the end, the fall is often more catastrophic than an ordinary death. In the profane world, the everyday world of clocks and calendars, the hand of time points one way, forward. It is symbolically seen in the images of the cherubim at the gates of Eden, with the sword pointing forward, and also saying, "You cannot go back." No cream, no drink, no technique can truly stop that. Our bodies obey growth, maturity, decay, and death. But myth, religion, and fairy tales insist that this is not the whole story. They suggest that immortality is not simply a continuation of time, but rather a different state of being. Fairy tales are full of life, death, and rebirth, descents into darkness and returns to a new form, a hero or heroine dying symbolically and coming back transformed. Even in the great symbol of the Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail, it shows that time is a cycle, not a straight line. Endings become beginnings, death contains a seed of a new life, destruction and creation reflect each other. And it's important to note in these tales, the magic, the true transformation, almost always takes place in the beyond, in the land of the gods, in the underworld, in the enchanted forest, strange kingdoms, or dreamlike realms. It's as if these stories are saying, you don't find immortality clinging to the surface of life. You find it by passing through death symbolically and emerging into a deeper reality. This is not to devalue our will to live or to look or to be our best, or to strive for greater things in life. We sometimes must fight the gravitational pull. Our will to live is one of the most instinctual forces we have. The poet Dylan Thomas urges us, do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. We recognize ourselves in that we do rage against decay. We don't want to disappear. But we see another view, equally valid, one where we accept our fate with grace. We see in contrast W.B. Yeates and his poem, The Coming of Wisdom with Time. It ends with reflections about withering into the truth. Though the leaves are many, the root is one. Through all the lying days of my youth, I swayed my leaves and flowers in the sun. Now I may wither into the truth. So, is there a right path? Do we rage against the dying of the light, or do we wither into the truth? The answer may not lie on a certain path, but where we are on our journey. On the one hand, the rage of Dylan Thomas is a human refusal to accept meaningless annihilation. It's a heroic impulse, the refusal to be passive in the face of death, to find meaning and purpose before we pass into the beyond. This may not be the fear of death, but the fear of the unlived life. So we must rage against the dying of the light until we find meaning. Yeates suggests something different, a phase in life, a surrender that isn't defeat, but a clarity. To wither into the truth is a surrender into our fate. We've always chased immortality, from pyramids to secret elixirs to face creams to longevity hacks. But we've come to a place where we only focus on the body and not the spirit. The diamond body is not found in a mirror or in a bottle. It cannot be contained or captured. It is not transactional. It is transcendent. And it will remain true. We will continue our desire for eternal youth and immortality. But we may be best served through the lessons of ancient stories such as Gilgamesh. What lies eternal is our creations, what we leave with others, and acceptance of the limits of fate. We live through many phases in our lives, or better yet, many cycles, and in each, we experience life, death, and rebirth. And the miracles are not in creams, but in the cycle itself. If you enjoyed this exploration of immortality and myth and modern life, subscribe to Archetypal Stories for more deep dives into symbols that shape us. And please leave a comment. When do you rage against the dying of the light? And when do you wither into the truth? Thanks for watching. And as always, stay curious and treasure the fleeting moments.